All that being said, I know that you've been waiting to hear Sarina Baptista and her story about her son, JT. And I don't want to take a lot of time up from her presentation because we do want to have a little interactive play at the end. But I do want to say that we're so fortunate to have Sarina here. She lives in the Melbourne area. She's going to be Candy's neighbor, my neighbor. So we're just so excited that they're building a home out there by Costco. And I just want you to listen using your open heart and your mind, because I believe that what she has to tell you today will change your life from this moment forward. It certainly did mine. And I'm reading her books, and it's changed me. It's actually transformed me. And I think we don't have to have a near-death experience to become transformed. We just have to have a renewing of our mind. You will never think of death and dying in the same way. Never, from this point forward. You can begin living your life in a new and enlightened way once you leave here today. And I think the actual play that JT, her son, actually told us about, but I put it into a play format because I'm an elementary teacher by nature. And years ago, because I was in the wrong group in school, I couldn't do plays. So as a teacher, I made sure every single year that all my kids participated in a play. And you are going to get to participate in a play today. And I think it'll be great. It's going to be fun. So I'm happy, so happy to introduce my friend, Sarina, and her son, JT. Together, they're going to teach us about how to live this life on earth with purpose and how to communicate with those that have transitioned to a higher frequency. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We have all kinds of wires out here. Yeah, all of it. Yeah, no pressure, right? What she just said, no pressure. No pressure. So my name is Sarina Baptista, and my apologies to those who are on Zoom. I had it all set up to do it directly through Zoom so you could actually see the presentation, but then my little clicker didn't work. What is that happening? So anyway, we will figure that out. No, because it works on this anyway. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. I know that everybody will get the information anyway. So again, my name is Sarina Baptista. I am relatively new to the Space Coast, and was so blessed to find this group. I am part of the bigger group, the IANDS bigger group, and I attend and participate in the conferences. And I highly recommend. It's going to be in Phoenix this year over Labor Day weekend, and I will be a panelist on, I'm not sure what we're talking about, but it's always transformative as well. And so if you are thinking about it, come and join in for, for Labor Day weekend. Anyway, a little bit about me, which I'd like to talk about because I did not know anything. I didn't know anything. I was an engineer. I was a software QA engineer for a software company in the Silicon Valley. And so I have that engineer mentality, right? Show it to me, prove it to me. And so this was actually in my benefit when things happened. So here's my boy. This is JT. This was taken in the beginning of March 2007. And if any of you have read anything about who I am, you'll know that he transitioned March 30th, 2007. So coming up next Saturday, we have our 17 years without him in physical form. Now, he's amazing. I mean, even before he left, he was always that serious kid, he loved to play, he loved to have fun, but these last couple of weeks, he was so serious. And I was a little worried about him, actually, why he became so serious. And so I kind of blew it off, and as people do. And it was March 25th, March 24th, March 25th, he caught the flu. Now, his sister caught the flu too, and she actually had a higher temperature. She had a higher fever. And so I was actually really more concerned about her, keeping her comfortable. But JT, he took a downturn on the 29th, that evening. Now, a little bit of preface on that. I had food poisoning that day, March 29th, ate something and was writhing in bed, was feverish, and it felt horrible. And I realize now, later, why that happened. But at the time, I was so irritated because all I wanted to do as a mom was take care of my babies who were sick. And I couldn't do that until it was about 11 p.m. That night, my fever broke. And so, and all of a sudden I had this burst of energy. And so I went in, I checked on my daughter, and she was sleeping. Oh, thank God, right? Thank God she's sleeping. JT was not sleeping. He was very restless. He couldn't get comfortable. And so we tried a whole bunch of things. At 2 a.m., I'm driving around the neighborhood, trying to help him. He was 7, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. He was 7, and my other kids were 5 and 3. And my other son, he was downstairs with my husband, sleeping on the couch because I wanted him to be separate from all the germs. Like you can do that, right, in a house. Well, actually at work, he did not get sick. But JT, he just wouldn't settle down. And at one point, he came running up to me, and he said, "Mom, I don't think I can make it." And I said, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What do you mean you can't make it?" He says, "I don't think I can make it. I don't think I'm going to make it." A 7-year-old. And you think, what? And I said, "What, do you want me to take you to the hospital? He says, no, I don't want to go to the hospital." I said, "Well, let's see what we can do to get you comfortable." So I put him in the bath, and, looking back, going, why? How would he know? How would he know that he wasn't going to make it? Well, later, I found out why he knew. So it was about 3:30 in the morning, and I was just about to fall asleep in his room. We had 2 beds because of his brother. His brother was in the room too, was asleep, slept in the room as well. And I was just about to sleep, and JT pops up into bed, sitting straight up, and he says, "Mom, go to your room." And I said, "Oh, you want to come with me? You want to come with me to my room? You want to sleep in the big bed? We can see if you're more comfortable." He says, "No, you go. I want to watch TV." And so, being very sleep deprived, just coming off of having been sick all day, I left the room. And that boy was definitely a mama's boy. There's no way he would tell me to leave the room. And of course, I didn't even think about it. Again, sleep deprived. I went to my bed, crashed out for just like two and a half hours. I got up, and it was right before 6 a.m. And I was on my way to the bathroom, and I thought to myself, halfway to the bathroom, I said, what if I go in there and he's dead? Now, where did that come from? Where does that come from? He had the flu. Kids get the flu. They're fine. They're sick for a little bit. They're fine. I don't know, and I just brushed that off. I said, no, I'm not going to even go there. I'm not going to go there. Well, I went into his room, and he wasn't breathing. And so I screamed for my husband. We pulled him off the bed. I started CPR, and my husband called 911. And I continued CPR until the first responders were there. They spent an hour at the house trying to bring him back, and then transported him to the hospital and spent another 45 minutes there at the hospital trying to bring him back. I was ushered to that little tiny room off of the emergency room that I didn't know even existed. It's the room where they take you when your loved one didn't make it. And I had no idea. I was thinking, okay, he might, he might be, maybe, he'll wake up eventually. Maybe he wasn't gone that long. All of these things as a mom, you're going through your head and you're going, damn it, come back. So in that little room, the doctor comes in and said, we lost him. And at that moment, everything changed. And you can imagine, everything changed. Our entire world changed. But JT had plans. So a couple of days later, we had everybody from the neighborhood descending on us, people coming from out of town, and I had a list of phone numbers that was on my computer table of all those people who needed to be called to let them know. I did not have to make these calls. Again, we were so blessed to have the whole neighborhood come, and they made those calls for me. I sat there at the computer one day and I said, somebody knows why she left. I knew it wasn't a random thing. I knew that there was purpose in it because, again, my daughter, she was sicker. She was sicker and she was fine. By this point, she had recovered. So I knew there was a reason for it, but I just didn't know what that was. So I sat there, I ran my finger down the list, and I stopped on a number. And I said, she knows. And I have no idea, again, why I would know this. It was the mother of a friend of mine who lived in California. We were in Colorado at the time. I met this lady twice, and she met JT once. So why? Why would she have this information? I have no idea, but I knew that she did. So I called, her husband answered. I said, it's Sarina. He said, hold on. He knew exactly. He went and grabbed her. She got on the phone, and all I said, I didn't even say, hey, how you doing? I just said, fine. She said, well, go get a paper and pen because JT visited me last night and has a message for me. This woman's not a psychic. She's a chiropractor. But JT knew that he had to get to me, but he wasn't able to get to me yet because things just happened. The grief was really strong and it wasn't time yet. So she had me write these things down. There were 3 things. And one of them was, you did everything perfectly, because he knew that I felt guilty about not getting him to the hospital. You did everything perfectly. You were the perfect mom, was the second thing. And then the third one was, I had to leave. I tried twice before to go. I could not leave you. This time I had to go. And I thought about it and stunned that I was receiving the message that I really, really, really needed in that moment to know that he was okay. So stunned. And at that moment, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Also at that moment, I looked down at my computer table, and there is a little area that is kind of down below where you would put a printer. I looked down there for some reason, I have no idea why, but I looked down there and there was a little Post-it note down there. It was a little Post-it note. It had, somebody had taken a hole punch to it. You know how kids, they love to make holes in things. There were a couple of hole punches in it. I grabbed it and looked at it and it said, I love you, Mom, JT. I had never seen this before. I never had seen this before. This was absolutely from him, and he put it there. And I've learned since then that they have a lot of ways that they can do that. And it blows my mind to this day how hard that kid worked to get me these messages. So then the signs started coming, and you'll see on everything, I have dragonflies. And this dragonfly that's on there, and hopefully everybody can see that, this dragonfly that's on there looks very, very similar to the first one that visited me. I was having a horrible, horrible day at the cemetery, and I learned that the cemetery is a great place when you want to be hysterical. People don't come up to you and ask you, are you all right? No, they leave you the hell alone, is what they do. They leave you alone. And so this was the place that I could go to really let it out. I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old at home. I could not express it the way I wanted to at home. So I had to find outlets. And I knew enough about the grief process that I knew I had to do the process. I wasn't going to let it steep or wallow in it. I knew that there was a reason for me to go through this, and I knew I was going to find the way through it. And so I would go to the cemetery, and this was a particularly painful day. It was about 5 weeks after he left, and I was literally pounding the ground, pounding his stone, pounding it, screaming at him, screaming at God, going, why? Why did you leave? Why did you leave me alone? And something caught my eye, and I got quiet for a second. I stopped crying, and I got down low, and I looked up, and a dragonfly was just really quickly passed, and going, whoa, okay, that's kind of cool. That's beautiful. It was a beautiful dragonfly. So maybe I'll watch it. Didn't have to follow it because it came back and zipped back in front of me. And I thought, oh, okay, that's different. All right. And then it began to dance in front of me. It just something and danced. And at that point, I started to like, because I knew that it was my son. I knew it was his way of letting me know that he was there and that he was okay. And this filled my heart to know. But engineer, the engineer part in me kicked in, and I'm like, oh, it was just a dang dragonfly. That wasn't really him. They don't do that. And the following day, we had the very last group, JP again, he was 7. I homeschooled him because he was definitely outside of the box, was not going to be one of those kids to sit down in class. So we were part of a homeschool group, and he created a Lego club. And so we had the last Lego club that was in his name, and we were putting everything away. And one of his friends pointed to this board that had Legos on it and said, dragonfly. Looked down, and I thought, oh, there isn't any dragonfly. And there was one that had a bird on it. So I pointed to it, and I said, you mean that one, the bird? At that point, there was a dragonfly that was on the board, didn't even see it. It hopped up on my finger, tucked in its wings, and looked at me. They don't do that. That is not, that is not dragonfly behavior. So, and that was the day following my experience at the cemetery. And so again, filled with joy and hope, and still wondering though, why? What was that about? It still brings dragonflies, even though we talk every day, but dragonflies are very important. So he used other things too to let me know that he was okay. You can't really tell what this is. Can anybody tell what that is? Think 5 years old. An ornament. It is 2 paper plates stuck together with paper in between. It's Mars, it's the planet. And he made it when he was 5, and it was hanging in his room. And I would go into his room maybe 20 times a day. And where are you? Where are you? And one day I was in there and I was sitting on his bed, and I looked up because this was right in my view. I looked up and it was spinning. And I thought, okay, I must have left the air on, window open, shut everything. No air, no window. And There's no way. There's no way he's doing that. Spin, 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 spin. And then so I said, and I'm sure he got very tired of my requests, but what I said was, okay, if that's really you, stop it and spin it the other way. Engineer. It stopped and spun the other way. I was, if you were outside looking in, you think, ooh, Lulu, she's gone crazy. This woman's thinking that she's seeing things. And so I went downstairs and I grabbed my husband. I said, you've got to see this. You've got to see this. I can't believe this. I grabbed him, dragged him upstairs. Mars had stopped moving by that time. And I said, tell it to move. Tell it to move. And my husband is looking at me like I'm crazy. I said, it's JT, tell him to move it. And so he said, JT, buddy, can you move that? Buddy, can you move it for me? Slowly, it started rocking back and forth, not spinning. It started rocking back and forth. My husband, of course, burst into tears. I burst into tears, and I would go in there 20 times a day and say, move it for me, move it for me. And each time he would. Each time he would. And then I thought, oh, that's too easy. It's too light. Is that really him, engineer? Is that really him? And so he had a dream catcher, because I forgot the name of it. And the dream catcher had 4 feathers hanging down, and it was just up on the wall. And it wasn't hanging, so it would be really difficult to move this thing. It was against the wall. It's pinned to the wall. And so one of the days I said, okay, but this Mars thing is way too easy. I need something. I need something more. I said, can you move the dream catcher? And I waited. Okay, but if you can't do it, that's all right. I'm okay. But if you can, that would be great. Waited. Well, he's a show off. So 4 feathers, the outer 2 went up and down. Just the outer 2. So I said, okay, I believe now. I believe, but boy, did that kid have to work, man. So that happened really early on. And again, I had to find my why. I have always been that person. And there's probably some of you here too, that just wonder why. Why is the sky blue? Why is space dark? Things like that. And again, engineering, right? So I knew there was a why. And people were starting to irritate me at that point because that he was going to other people, giving them messages, but not coming to me. And again, I didn't know I was a medium. I didn't know that I could connect with him, but I thought, if these other people, they're not special, they're not psychics, and he's going to them. And one of the things that he kept telling people is that we agreed to this, Mom. We agreed to this. We agreed that I would go. And I said, well, you're high. You're high because why would I do that? Why would I say, oh yeah, when you're 7, why don't you kick off? That's not something that a mom would say, right? Not in our incarnation. So roundabout way, I found the book Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. Highly recommend it. I was reading it as we were driving back to California on a trip, and it blew me away. And I resonated with it. That's the thing. I had been reading a lot, but I resonated with it. And one of the things that he brings up in there through these life between lives regressions is that we have contracts, and that we say, we want to do these things, we want to learn these things in these incarnations. And that resonated with me. And I thought, that makes sense. I didn't really know what my contracts were or anything like that. But I knew that in reading that book, I wanted to experience that life between lives regression. And there was just one woman, one single person in my entire area that did these. And so on this trip to California, I called her office, I left the message, and the voicemail said, we have a 6-month wait. And I don't think I can wait 6 months. I'm going to have to figure out something else. But I went ahead and left the message and got off the phone. And 5 minutes later, her husband called me back and said, we had a cancellation for next week. You want it? Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. Yes, I do. Now, for a life between lives regression, what they do is they first take you into past life regression to get you to go deep. It's a form of hypnotherapy, hypnosis, and I in the past I had done a lot of work in hypnosis, quitting smoking, doing a lot of self-hypnosis, things like that. So I was pretty easy. Pretty easy to get into that mode of hypnosis. This, of course, this was 4 months after my son passed. And so I struggled a little bit in getting there because there was so much anticipation, so much anxiety over what I was going to experience. And this is where I had my STE. And STE is a spiritually transformative experience. And, there's NDEs, near-death experience. The STE is when you experience something that is real on a spiritual level. That's real. This life between lives regression was real. Now, again, engineer later, didn't believe that I actually experienced it. I'm sure J2 got so tired of me. But what happened was, so we get into that space of the life between lives, and that is that space after we leave our incarnations and we go into what I call higher frequencies, and our family meets us, and it's a grand reunion, all those things that you hear about. And I'm in that space, and I see just a sea of people out there. And I think, okay, I guess I'm in this space. And then JT, in his little 7-year-old body, comes running to me. And of course, I'm bawling my eyes out. And the person who's regressing you wants you to be speaking, and I just wanted her to shut up. Because I was with my boy, and it was real. I was hugging him. I was I was there. And so I said, just the only question I had for him was, did we agree to this? That's what you keep telling people. That we agreed to this, did we? At that moment, he shifted into his soul self, which is not a 7-year-old boy. It was a male energy, but he looked totally different. He wasn't, he had sandy blonde hair, but totally different again from what he looked like here. And that tripped me out a little bit because where'd my boy go? But I knew it was him because of his energy. We all have this energetic signature, and that was him. And so as his soul self, he took me to this observation place. And there was this window, I swear, it was so funny. It was this window in front of us. And inside the window was our soul family, my husband, my daughter, my other son, and him. Our soul family was sitting around a table, and I heard myself say, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it. Knowing that I was talking about him leaving. At that point, I got a little messed up because then you go, well, what am I grieving? I'm the one that put this into motion. What am I grieving? So I got home that night and was like, wow, who am I then? Because I'm this big energy too. I saw my soul self, and I saw myself agreeing to this. And so it was really kind of difficult, because then I wondered again, did I make that up? Did I make it up? But it was so real. And so I was crying in his room. I just don't know if that really happened. And I looked up at Mars, like flying everywhere, going, it was real, Mom, it was real. Stop it. So from that moment, I knew that I had agreed to it. And it shifted my grief. I still had to grieve that little boy, but it shifted it because then I knew that there was purpose to it. I knew that I had a contract there, and I still hadn't found out why, but I was going to. I was determined to figure that out. It wasn't too much longer after that, about a month, that I found John Holland's book, Power of the Soul. And I found this because John Holland, I had worked with Brian Weiss back in my 30s, and he is, as far as I'm concerned, he's such a beautiful soul, such a beautiful life. But he is, to me, the past life expert, and he's done so many regressions. And I did work with him on a number of occasions, seeing my past lives and working with him. And I thought, this was before I had my STE. I thought, oh, Brian's got to be able to help me. Where is he? Where is he going to be? In November, he was going to be in Seattle, granted I'm in Colorado, and he was going to be in a conference or a workshop with this guy, John Holland, who was a medium. And I thought, well, maybe I need to see what John Holland is about before I go to Seattle. So I got onto John Holland's website, and wow, he's going to be in my town in 2 weeks. I wonder how that happened. So I got his book, and again, I thought, I'd never been to a medium before. I thought, oh, I'm going crazy. This is just nuts. But I got to find my why. I have no idea why my son left. So I got his book, was reading his book, and he has a part in there about the clairs. Clairs are how we receive information from spirit. He has these examples, and he is such a funny man. He and I are good friends now. He's such a funny man. He says this one thing about clairsentience, which is feeling, and that you go into a store and people think that you work there. People think that you're an employee. And he has this whole bit about, he's looking at carpeting, and this woman comes up to him and says, do you have the blah, blah, blah carpet? And I'm reading this, and I thought, oh, dang, that happens to me all the time. Oh, wow. And then it was like the angel sang, got it. I wonder if I can do this. Is this my why? So the following day, I met a friend for lunch. I had, in a fit of rage, brief rage, I had kicked the bed, broke my toe, and you do stupid things, right, when you're grieving. And I can't even remember what set me off, but I was so mad. I don't know why I decided I'd kick a bed. But anyway, broke my pinky toe. So I wasn't walking really well. I had to go to Walmart, though. I had to get toothpaste. So I got one of those motorized carts because I wasn't going to be able to walk. And so I am sitting in the toothpaste aisle in a motorized cart. I don't have my dark blue shirt on and my pancakes. I don't. This older woman comes up to me. I'm in the cart. I'm in the cart. And she says, excuse me, where are the curlers? Luckily, I knew Walmart. I said, they're one aisle over. Thank you. And then she walked away. And I started laughing because I thought, oh, yeah, it's like the old, Jeff Foxworthy. Here's your sign. Is that the, no, I'm sorry. That was Bill whatever, right? And what's his name? Here's your sign. So that was my sign, and I started laughing, and I thought, okay, maybe this is real. So I had set up a mediumship reading. I wanted to talk to my son. And again, this was somebody, you don't go, psychics are us. You don't go picking him out of the phone book. This was a recommended psychic to me, recommended medium. She was in California. I'm in Colorado. She has no idea who I am. We get on the phone, it's a phone reading, and before we even do anything with JT, she brings in my guide and she says, they're showing me a contract. Did you just sign for a house? I said, no. She said, it's very thick ink. This is a big contract. I said, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she says, oh, this is your contract. You're a medium. You are the bridge between this world and the next. And I thought, wow. So, and I said, how do you even do that? Do you just wake up and start talking to dead people? I mean, what happened? How do you do this? And she said, training, training, training. That was her advice. So I did. I got immediately into training. I was doing a group training about an hour away. I found a mentorship group that was not too far. And I began training because this was my why. I thought so. I'm still not sure. Engineer always kicks in, right? And I'm still not sure, but I want to talk to my kids. Before that meeting was over with the medium, though, she said, what else would you like to know? And I said, I want to talk to my son. And she said, or she didn't even say, she went, I smell dirty socks. Yeah. And I said, I knew it. I knew it. I would go into his room and smell dirty underwear. And I knew that every single stitch of clothing had been removed. They took, my neighbors took everything out, all of his clothing, and went and washed them, dried them, boxed them. So I knew that it wasn't his underwear or his dirty socks. But he would give me that smell all the time because I would get on him all the time. Put that in the hamper, it smells. So guess what the kid gave me when he wanted me to know he was there? He gave me the smell of his dirty laundry. So I laughed and I said, oh, thank God. And then again, knowing that he was okay. So training. And part of this was meditating, right? And I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this because I'm one of those, I cannot shut my brain off. It's like, oh, did I close the refrigerator? Okay, please. I don't think I locked the front door. The dogs probably have to pee. I had such a hard time meditating, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this if I have to meditate to get connection with my son. Well, I learned, though, that you can do guided meditations, and that solved everything for me. I was able to do the guided meditations, and I don't have to do them anymore. I don't have to be guided anymore. I have trained myself so that I can shut out the world for the most part. But it was about a month in to my training. So I began mid-October. This was beginning, actually not even a month in, beginning of November. And this kid, so by that time, JT would let me know he was around by tickling my head and by tickling my side. And I was told that it was, where he would hug me because he was short, that is where he would be and why he tried to pull my hair, 7-year-old fun. But in the middle of the night, I would wake up to somebody pulling my hair and tickling my side. And I would, JT, knock it off. I need to sleep. And he said, it's not me, Mom. I heard that one. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay, who is this? And so then I had to play 20 questions. Because again, 3 weeks into training, I have no idea what I'm doing. I can hear a little bit, I can feel a lot, but it's not together yet. So I found out that this kid was a teenager. He was 14 when he took his own life. And I knew his mom in a grieving mom's group. And I thought, what? I'm not Teresa Caputo. I am not going to walk up to somebody and say, you know, I've got your so-and-so here and they want to talk to you. I just did not, first of all, I did not feel comfortable doing that. I didn't know what I was doing yet. But he was persistent. His name was Zane, and he was persistent. And so I said, okay, I will see if I can get in touch with her. And so I did. I, a roundabout way, got in touch with her. She called me, and then that's when I had to step into who I was and say, your son's been persistent, to say the least, to let you know that he's all right. And I could barely hear him. I could feel a lot, and so much remorse, so much sadness from him of what he put his mom through, you know. It wasn't, I mean, again, we're talking only, you know, probably about 7 months after JT left and Zane left, I think, maybe 2 months after that. So he hadn't been gone for very long. And so she, of course, it was dead silence on the phone. Crazy lady telling me my son who killed himself is talking to her. Ah. Well, if that's Zane, then tell me what color the cat is that's sitting next to you. I heard gray. I said gray. Dead silence. Yes, she's gray. And from then she was a little bit more, I mean, how many gray cats are there? You know, it would be easier to say orange. Tabby. No, she was gray. And so it opened the door a little bit. She was able to receive the message. Again, I don't do that now. I don't go hunting people down by any means. That's not the way that this works. But in that particular case, it was very important that she hear that because of what she was going through. Now, as I am doing my training, again, I could not hear JT very well. It was like one word here, one word there. So frustrating. And I could now, at this point, I could talk to other people's kids. I was starting to do readings for them. And that was kind of my focus, right? To let other parents know that their kids are okay too. And it was very important for me to give those messages. But I still couldn't hear my boy, and that kind of irritated me. And again, we're not even a year into his leaving. And so, you know, I get it. I understood it, that I still was grieving. I was still missing the physicalness of him. And I was just flying down this country road where we live, and radio blasting and just kind of not really even there, right? Just driving. And he yanks on my hair and he goes, "Mom, slow down." And I looked down and I was going about 15 over the speed limit. I said, "Well, okay, I'll slow down." Came over a rise. There's a sheriff at the bottom of the hill there. So I said, "Thank you. Thank you, bud." He goes, "No problem, Mom." And all of a sudden, it just was a switch that flipped and we had a conversation. And from that point on, we had conversations. It wasn't just one word. It was full-blown conversation. And I almost had to pull over, right? Because I'm driving and I'm talking to him and he's answering me, and I was just amazed that he was there. So he is absolutely a master soul, as we know from these books that he has had me write. One of the things which was very uncomfortable for me to do, it was probably about a year and a half after I began training, he said, okay, Mom, get you up on the stage now. I said, no, there's no way I'm going to be doing that. I don't know what I'm doing. He says, we've got it all worked out. And so he says, go to the bookstore. There was a wonderful bookstore that had a coffee shop there. And he says, go in and talk to the owner. We've set it up for you. I was like, oh, she's gonna think I'm nuts. Okay, I'm game. I'm game. If you're gonna set this up for me, I'm game. Okay, let me go in. And so I went in, asked for her. And I explained, I'm a medium and I'd like to do, a demonstration here. I'd like to do what they call a gallery reading. She says, oh my gosh, I have been looking for somebody to do that. I can't believe you came in. So we set it up and I started doing the sessions there. I started doing gallery readings there and it was so much fun. And the very first time it was excruciating because I didn't have any idea what I was doing, but they walked me through it and they said, look for the light. And my guides did, J2 did, look for the light and that'll show you who the message is for. And it worked every time. But there was this one time where they showed it like right down the middle at the end of the aisle there. It was supposed to be that person. And I said, okay, I've got a sister here. She had a traumatic death. She left, very quickly. And I'm just rattling off all these things. And I'm looking back. I see the light. Nobody's taking it. And gosh, what is going on here? So I said, well, let me see what else I can find. And so I was looking away, getting more information from her. And somebody called my attention back to where the light was at the end there. There was a gentleman getting his latte at the coffee shop, had no idea what we were doing, wasn't coming in to hear from his sister, did not know who I was, what's going on, I just want my latte. And so I said, is your sister on the other side? And he said, yes. And I said, traumatic death, yes. And I said, step on up here because she's got a message for you. And darn, she worked hard to get that for you, didn't she? And he received it very well for being somebody I'm totally caught off guard. I mean, everybody else was sitting there, standing, and they were expecting the reading. And here was this poor guy trying to get his latte. But I tell you, they work for us. They work so hard to let us know that they are around. They work so hard to get us these messages. If nothing else, if nothing else today, know that your guides and your loved ones work very hard to let you know. The other thing that JP loved to give me was hearts. And I have a whole bunch. I take pictures of them all the time. And some of them are very odd. Like my eggs. My raw eggs in the shape of a heart. A little, these little tiny stones that are in shapes of hearts. This one I love to talk about because it's one of those that he worked hard at. We were at Jenny Lake, which is at the Grand Tetons, and we are in the water, and he says, look for the heart, Mom, look for the heart. And so I'm looking down in the water going, oh, there's got to be a heart-shaped rock, right? There's got to be a heart-shaped. We're all in, I said, everybody, my whole family's in the water looking for this heart. And he says, no, it's on the top of the water, Mom, look, look. And I looked up, and there was this pink thing floating towards me. And it went right past me, and I missed it. And I had my son grabbed it. And it's hard to tell here, but it's a heart-shaped petal. It was the only one that was in the water. That's it, just that one petal coming at me, directly to me, and I just didn't grab it in time, but luckily I have a quick kid, he grabbed it. But that's the other thing is the signs, the acknowledgement that, hey, I'm here, and I'm going to show you that I'm here. And JT is so good at that. So I finished writing my first book, and it was about my grief process. And I published it, And then I did a workbook after that was how to connect, because I was blown away at how simple it was to learn to connect to the other side. Now, do I have a proclivity to it? Yes, absolutely, because this is part of my plan. This is my contract. This is my why. So of course, once the light switch went on, it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier for me to connect once I had let go of that engineer piece. We can all do it though, and I put out a workbook. I teach classes now on how to get connected. After that one was done, I put them out like back to back. And then JT comes in, I'm meditating or quiet, something. He says, "Oh, Mom, now it's my turn." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I want to write a book. I'm going to write a book now." And I said, "Can you give me a minute? Because I just got done putting these two out. I'd like to rest." He said, "Nope, it has to go out this year." Okay. Okay, honey, how are we going to do this? Because he channeled everything to me. It's his book. And so what we would do is I had a headset and a Word document and speech recognition. And he would tell me what to write. I would speak it into the microphone and it would come out into Word. And, sometimes it gets a little kooky that way, but that's the only way, because I started typing it and he was talking way too fast for me. I thought, oh, we've got to do this a different way. And so he says, "Use the microphone. We created that for you." I said, okay. So, there were things that he told me in that book that I had to say, "Whoa, honey, I need to step away. That's a little bit much for me right now." There were some pretty interesting concepts that he had. And this is how I knew it wasn't coming from me. I never would have thought of these things. They weren't in my reality. They weren't in my world. And, but they were absolutely part of where he was. And so I would step away, I would read it again, and I would have to have time to kind of assimilate the information. And then I would come back and I would go, "Okay, is this how you want it to read?" And we would go through and we would read. It was an interesting process, that's for sure. But this is entirely his book, My View from Heaven. And it's won 2 awards. I'm so excited. It's won the Cover Award, which is a Coalition of Visionary Resources. And then it also is a 2021 Speak Up Talk Radio Firebird Book Award. So it is a fabulous book, but again, the concepts were really, really different. And but now I know them to be true. Now you hear them. You hear them from other people now. At the time, I was only hearing it from him, so I thought, oh. But no, it was definitely, now it's part of mainstream New Age. Is that a thing, mainstream New Age? It is in my book. So I want to read just a little bit of this, of part of his book. Oh, here's the glasses. Right? So this is, so he is, again, my guide, my helper. He's amazing. And I am just so grateful that he is helping me, that he's helping me live this life, because I'll tell you, being guided by him, it makes it just so much easier. But what he wants to say is, if you are on a path of doing what you're supposed to do and being where you're supposed to be, things in your life should be smooth. If you find life is rocky and uncertain, then you are in a learning lessons phase. Look at this closely and determine what needs to change. You can also ask us, your loved ones, for assistance. Sometimes a lesson is presented to you because you believe you deserve the pain of the lesson. That was a lot of mine. This is just not true. We encourage you to accept that you are so much more than just the person you see in the movie. that's just a little bit of what he says in that book. So he doesn't have me, I'm certainly not, what is it, the moss, right? There's no moss that's growing on me because he constantly has me moving. In 2020, things shifted for everybody, and he said, "Oh, let's do that Oracle card deck now, Mom." I said, "You know what? I'd kind of like to take a break." He said, "No, let's do that Oracle card deck." So we channeled that. There's one over there if you wanted to take a look. We finished it up. Oh gosh, we started it in May, finished it by August. Again, I had a lot of time. Because it was 2020. So we finished it up, and it's amazing for like daily inspiration, getting you back on path, moving you, all of that. So that is the other thing that we worked on together. And then the latest thing is what you have, what the gift that you have in front of you. And for those who are on Zoom, I know that you aren't here to get a physical copy, so I have an option for you, which we'll talk about. This book wasn't supposed to be a book. But of course, JT always has a different plan, right? So this began as a writing class. I was teaching a writing class to some students of mine, how to speak to their soul. Now it happened that three of us, there were four total, three of us lost children, one lost her husband. And I got connected with all of them, they're all clients of mine. And so I was connected to them through their kids and through their husband. And so, of course, definitely orchestrated that they were the only three in the class. And so we did the curriculum that I was told to do for writing, writing for your soul. And then JT, it was done. The class was done. I was like, okay, mark that one off. He says, "No, Mom, you're not done yet. Keep going. You got to have a monthly meeting with these ladies." Okay. So I said, we're going to meet monthly, and we're going to keep working on this. And I didn't even know what this was. It was just connecting with your soul. So we met monthly, and it was about 9 months after that he says, "Oh, by the way, this is a book." And can you imagine seeing these women's faces when I said, "Oh, we're writing a book now"? These are not women who would consider themselves to be authors. They're all beautiful writers, as you will see, but it was not something that they were even contemplating doing. But their loved ones, their kids, and one's husband said, "Yes, you're writing this. Yes, you are telling your story. And yes, we are going to get this done." And they gave us, again, a very strict time. I guess they figured we needed deadlines. And I'll tell you, we did. There was one who was lagging, and I kept thinking, "Oh, I'm going to have to dump her. I'm going to have to dump her." And finally she came back and she said, "I am so sorry. I just haven't been able to get into this, but boy, did Dan kick me in the rear." Or I shouldn't have said the name probably. But Dan kicked me in the rear, and we are doing this now. And she got all of her chapters done like in a week. So she got caught up very quickly. But our story is about the connection, not only with each other, because that's huge, finding each other, but the connection with our kids and the connection with other loved ones. And it's a beautiful story about how it began and what happened in the process. A beautiful story. And let's see. And part of this was, of course, our kids and loved ones telling us, what we needed to write, how we needed to write it. And they had each their own section at the end of the book. And one of the things that JT wanted me to share here is that you are a very important soul. Not one of you is here by accident. right? Not one of you. You are a very important soul, he says. You have chosen to be witness to the incredible energy changes on our planet. Even more, your high-frequency soul wants to be an active participant in this change. You said, yes, I want to be a part of this. I want to help the energy of all that is by incarnating once again at this very special time. I am ready. We all said that. We don't remember it. Just like I didn't remember saying that it was okay for him to go. But we did, and we're here. And there is so much work for us to do now that we're here and that we're awake. And here is where I'm pitching, right? Pitching this. I want this book to win the gold for the cover awards. You know, JP's book did. I want this one to win. The awards are coming up. The voting guide comes out on the 1st of April, and then voting is from April 10th to the 30th. What I would love for you to do is read the book. And then if you would like to participate in that, if you want to vote for the book, then go to bridgetohealingpress.com/award. And then I will send you all of the information. You will not be on any email lists at all. It's just for this information. I firmly believe in privacy and respect people's privacy. So it would only be to do the award. And there's where we come in for the people who are watching on Zoom. If you go to this link and put in your name, and again, you will not go onto any list, but I will send you the book electronically so that you also can participate in this. So bottom line is, we are so blessed. We are so fortunate. We don't always understand how fortunate we are to be here right now. And I'll tell you, you know, we're coming again up on 17 years of having to put my kid in the ground. And I never thought I would say, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. I want to do what I need to do here. But now I do. Now I say that. I have found my joy. I'm still working through the grief. The 30th is going to come around, kick my butt. I know it. That's just the way it is. I'm a human mom. But I can talk to him. He'll tell me some jokes that day. And we are connected. And this is his biggest thing is we can all connect. We're all part of the greater. We're all part of the greater all that is. And we are here for purpose. We're here to do big things, even if that big thing is just to smile at people. That's a big thing to do. So from both of us, we so appreciate everybody who is here today and on Zoom. So grateful to have you here to listen to my story. I love talking about my boy, and he is just, again, an amazing soul. So before we do questions, do you want to wait till after questions?
I know, we can do some questions.
Great.
And then like at 4:15, we'll do our little.
That sounds good. This is a beautiful thing that Deb came up with. I just am impressed with all get out on how she came up with this, and definitely divinely inspired for sure. So yeah, definitely. Did you have a question?
Well, and what is the date again?
That's wonderful. Yeah, she is amazing in live, absolutely. And it's funny, she receives similarly to how I receive, but I don't go, with her show, she had to do things probably that she wouldn't have ordinarily done, like going up to strangers. It had to be Hollywoodized, right? So, but she's, oh, thank you. Yes, very much. And again, it's who I am and part of, part of the big picture. Absolutely. And if you can see any other mediums, I would highly recommend, again, the live things are really amazing. When I saw John Holland live, that changed everything for me. It really did. JT did come through. Did you have a question? Yes. Right. Yes. So I'm going to repeat it just for the people who are on Zoom. What she was asking was how do you maneuver through the grief? How do you feel that emptiness? And our fur babies, oh yeah, absolutely. And I want to say that there is no grief that is better than another. In other words, people say, well, you lost a child, so you win the prize. But no, grief is grief, right? If you're in pain, you're in pain. So one of the things, especially with animals, that I have found is that they stick around longer. And so you might hear their caller. I actually, when my cat, once I did have connection, because I am an animal communicator as well, and so I got connection with one of my cats, and I asked him, I said, he was really old, and do you want any help here? Do you want help to move along? He said, no, I want to do it my way. I'm here to learn this. So he did. It was excruciating to watch, but he did. He left, and that night, I heard him meow. And so I grabbed I did it. I used to do ghost hunting, crazy. But I was on the psychic team, and we would help them cross over at the end of the night. It wasn't just for kicks. We would help them move along. And so I grabbed my voice recorder and I caught the meow on the voice recorder. So that was proof that they are still very close to our frequency and they can be part of our world still. When we talk about connection and how that fills that void, what meditation is key. And I have a meditation that's free on my website. It is, I think it's called Connecting Meditation, Bridge Meditation. If you go to my website, SarinaBaptista.com, and click on the search bar and type in meditation, just do that, because I have a couple of them on there. I have a chakra clearing. This one is, it's a bridge where you go to the bridge, and in the meditation, it's a guided meditation. You go to the bridge, there's a bench there. You sit on the bench and you ask for whoever you want to come and sit with you, including animals. And they can talk to us in that space. There's universal language, so they can talk to us and you can have a conversation. So that's, I would say, we all have this connection. We can all do this. You do have to get into that space, right? You have to get in, you have to clear out the junk. And that's what in the meditation, it goes through a chakra clearing and energy clearing, because you need to be at a certain frequency to receive. But it's not as difficult. And like I said, I was blown away at how simple it is to do that. Yes. Well, sometimes I catch myself speaking out loud in stores. And I go, whoops, I'm answering myself too. I do it both ways. I'll talk in my head or I'll talk out loud. A lot of times I talk out loud. It's like a conversation. And a lot of times I will talk out loud. And again, my family's used to it. I go through the house and, I say, stop it, and they're used to it. Oh, there she goes again, talking to JT. So they're used to that. But either way, but I've trained it. And that's the thing with these, we train our clairs. And so I came in with feeling and hearing, and I didn't even know I had hearing. That very first medium that I talked to, when she said, you're the bridge between this world and the next, and she said, your guides say you can hear them. And I said, no, I can't hear them. And in a very strong male voice in my head, I heard, yes, you can hear us. Okay, I guess I can hear them. So that was a very, very strong clair. So, that is my primary, is the hearing. But now I can see because I've trained it. I can know. Of course, there's the smell again, that, that JT gave me. So, but we can train them. And that's how you can use all of your senses to connect. Yeah. Oh, yes, that is a sign. Yeah. Good for you. So sometimes people expect that it's going to be outside of you, like you're going to hear it. Here, it's actually in here. It's actually in your head. And so a lot of times people mistake it for their own voice. Luckily, like I said, I heard that in a male voice. And so I hear different tonations. I hear young, old, male, female, but I am one of the few people, not few, I shouldn't say that. Most people who are clairaudient hear it in their own voice. So that might be the issue, is you're hearing it, but you're blowing it off. Did you have a question? Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. Right, it's not outside. Yes, exactly. You had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. Yeah. It's really joyful and uplifting to hear the story, because I think to my discarded loved ones in home.
Nice.
And I don't necessarily feel as if I have any experience, but that's okay. And then I heard somewhere that the discarded loved ones are very busy. And then, they're busy on
They're not
their whole
busy.
journey, and they're doing all these things, and they really don't have time to. I know. I'm just saying what.
No, I have heard that too.
Like, you probably know.
Yeah.
You know that book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there.
Oh, yeah, I did read that, and I didn't agree with a lot of what she wrote.
Did you say agree or?
I did not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because,
It was not I shouldn't say that. I should say it was not my experience.
Okay.
Yeah, with JT.
yeah, because Billy wrote this book through his sister. But
Right.
he was really busy, and he became more and more distant, I think, if I remember correctly. But what you're suggesting is that that our departed loved ones can be as present as we can be anytime.
Yes, that is my experience. And, yes, they're busy. They're doing other things. They're expanding their soul. They're learning. They could even be reincarnating. It doesn't matter. We can always connect with that energy. And that's one of the things that I learned early on and it's in actually Michael Newton's book, Dr. Newton's book, that we only bring like 10% of our energy, and 10 to 15, the rest of us is still in spirit. So there is infinite energy for them to pull on to be able to communicate with us. And I'll tell you, if you're trying to communicate with them, they're not going to say they're too busy. If you need to have some information from them, they will be glad to do it. Maybe Billy's sister was a pain in the tush. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but because I don't know the story. But I have not found them ever to come and say to me, "I'm too busy to talk to you." And that goes for readings too. Nobody has ever not shown up. They want to be there. They want to be there to communicate.
That's a very limited concept.
Yes, and that's the one, right, exactly. And that's the thing, a lot of mediums limit themselves, and it's no fault of theirs. It might be their training. You know, I had the initial training that I had was a little limited. I am not a limited person. I step outside of the bounds and it works. You know, when somebody did say to me, you know, well, have you been, you know, because I said, are you, you know, can you be 100%? And she said, well, have you been 100%? I said, yeah. And she goes, well, then why wouldn't you continue to be 100%? So, you know, in other words, don't put the limits on yourself. Don't do it. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, wow. That makes sense. Oh, how wonderful. True. Yes, absolutely. Yes, right, right. Thank you so much. And I wanted to reiterate a little bit for those on Zoom about the dragonflies that what is your name? Candy, are you my neighbor? Yes. You're going to be, did you say? Oh, okay, you're in Bridgewater. Okay. Yes, I'm going to be in Pangea. Yeah. Wow. Great, right? Wow. Wonderful. Yes, thank you. And yes, and thank you to everybody who, again, was here today. I'm going to turn this over to Deb now. She's actually handing out these things. Let me see if there is. Yes, special thank you. I so appreciate everybody for attending today. Thank you.